Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The universal greeting of peace with blessings across the world, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us, especially today in the middle of our festive seasons across the globe. And thank you for taking the time to listen and to watch IIU. It is amazing to have all of you here today, especially, like I said, during this time, to take time off to learn, to grow, to become better, and to learn from us. So it is amazing to have you. Thank you so much. Just a quick introduction to IIU. International Internship University, the IIU, is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide and well-reputed in delivering innovative programs. Globally, it is a trusted name for quality training programs and is committed to providing better and virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. In a short span of time, the IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents, under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit sir, a committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. Like I said again, I greet you all in the universal greeting of peace with blessings. During this festive time, I pray that you are all safe, that you are all well, and that you're all going to take away from today's lesson something that's going to be good for you, for the children around you, for the people about you, and personally, just to make that small difference into your life. I am truly honored to be an honorary professor of education and a trainer of IIU, amongst many other roles that I play across the globe. We are talking today about something that is very, very important. It's a rife topic. It's discussed many, many a times, but many times we tend to either forget or we don't understand the full capacity of exactly what it means to have this. So today we are talking about bullying. Now, when I speak about bullying, what exactly comes to your mind? You would probably picture in your mind a child that is being injured or pushed around in a school, or you'd picture another child in a little canteen or a cafeteria in a school having his lunchbox taken away from him, or you would have someone hitting someone, or you would have somebody slandering someone and shouting at someone. So there's something negative in the connotation of bullying, correct? Now let me ask you another question. Is it not possible that bullying can also happen outside of the school? Are you able to resonate to know whether this is happening in your workplace, perhaps? Is there bullying happening in a corporate sector, in the working areas? Is bullying positive in any way at all? No. Is it seen in the workplace? Most of the time, you would find some people bully their way up a corporate ladder. For them, of course, bullying becomes a positive thing, right? Because they're pushing themselves up. And of course, we know that's not what you do. You grow yourself to better yourself and you improve yourself. And that's how you get promoted and grow up a ladder. It's not by any other means of bullying your way around, correct? Are you perhaps seeing a bully within your home environment, in your family, somebody that does this? The traits of a bully, are they within your home? Are they within the area that you live in? So what am I showing you? I'm showing you that as much as we talk about bullying in schools, bullying is actually something that is around us all the time, even in the adult world. We are not immune to bullying. Bullying is happening, it is everywhere. Bullying, we must know, yes, in a school. We have seen it, we hear it, teachers complain about it, but it is a form of an abuse. So when we're talking about bullying, we can actually say bullying is an abuse. It is a form of abuse. Bullying is a violation of someone's right. Be it a child, be it a woman, be it a man, be it an elder, bullying anybody is a violation of their right. And that's why bullying is negative. That's why bullying has to stop. And anti-bullying programs are very, very important. Anti-bullying programs are very needed because these anti-bullying programs will help promote support systems and it will involve active and well-trained people that can help to foster a safe and more learned environment where no sort of violence or violation is allowed. And I say this again, it's not just violence, it's a violation. When we have to look at our children, statistics tell us that half of the world's students aged between 13 and 15 say that they have experienced violence some form in and around the school area, whether it's within the school grounds or outside the school grounds. And when you have to look beyond that, there are many who do not speak of their bullying experiences, and that is where the problem lies. So when we talk about this violence in bullying, what exactly are we talking about? Violence, when we look at it as its own, is actually a threatened or actual use of physical force or power, which results in a physical or psychological harm done to someone else. Now put the bullying into that specific aspect. Bullying is, yes, a form of violence. Like I said before, bullying is violation. And when you become violent as a bully, when you are a recipient of something which is violent, you have been violated. So bullying is a form of violence and can be then, based on the violence definition, the definition of a bullying in the form of violence would be unwanted behavior, aggressive behavior, which is involving real or a perceived imbalance of power. When we talk about this imbalance of power, what are we talking about? Yes, we are talking about one feeling superior over another, one claiming that they might be better than the next. And it is a behavior that is repeated or somehow carries a threat of maybe being repeated. So you might have a bully that would do something to harm you today and say or threaten that they will do the same thing again if you do not conform to what they're asking. This is the violence bullying. Do you see this around you? If you're a child and you're watching this, have you seen this or witnessed this in your school environment? When we have to look at that school environment, bullying takes different forms in a school. For example, you'll have the physical bullying, right? Like we just spoke about in terms of the violence and the bullying, where you would have the hitting, you'd have someone kicking someone, you'd have somebody slapping somebody, or maybe pulling off the hairs, or you would have somebody shoving somebody else. So these are different kinds of physical bullying. Then in the school environment, but this also, remember what I spoke about when we began, can also be in the corporate environment, in your family environment, your community environment, the verbal form of bullying. This means we're talking about name calling. This means it refers to when you are teasing someone continuously. But the teasing is not something small. The teasing is difficult. The teasing is hard to bear. The teasing is unbearable for the person whom you are teasing. You use belittling expressions where you belittle the person. The person feels inferior to you, small and very, very hurt by what you are saying. And you continue to do this. This is when it becomes verbal bullying. Do you see this perhaps in your home? Do you see this perhaps between your children, amongst your siblings? Do you see it between your parents? Do you see it in your community where there's this verbal sort of abuse that keeps happening? People just speaking to each other with the utmost disrespect. People not caring about how they speak and refer to others. The name calling. The making up of things so that you belittle somebody in public, so that somebody becomes inferior and feels small. And let me let you know about something. Most often, when you verbally abuse someone, you are doing it to somebody who you know is not going to be able to retaliate. You know that the person's personality is not of the nature to react to that in a verbal way again. So you're not going to get somebody to argue with you. You're going to get somebody who's going to feel weak in front of you. This is what the bully does. Somebody who is a bully knows these weak traits about a person, and they attack that verbally. That is the verbal abuse. This is why I say bullying is a form of abuse, because you abuse somebody either physically, verbally, and you will see as I talk today the different forms that happen. And as I'm speaking, please, when you are listening to me, think about this. Write it out in the chat box if you wish to. Do you see it in your community? Do you see it between people? Do you see it maybe within yourself? And I must pause here to say that if you are a bully, if you are resonating with you being the person who is causing this kind of harm, if you are the person who is speaking in this manner that is hurting other people continuously, if you see yourself as the person who actually has to thrive on making sure people feel smaller in front of you for you to feel bigger, is this you? And if it is you, I want you to understand that you too can get help to stop that. Because as much as we always counter, and I know I for a fact counsel children, teachers, adults even that have been bullied, I counsel them. I always say that the person who has bullied you also can get help to become better. We do not have to always isolate and say the bully is the bad one and leave them. Let us try to help even those bullies that are out there to stop being the bully that they are and actually try and change to become better people. Every single person in humanity, in our human race, has got that one capability within them to make that change, to become better, to change the negatives about them, to become positives. So if you are seeing yourself in some of the things that I am saying, and if you see that you are a bully, I want you to know that there is help ready out there for you to change that habit, for you to become even better, for you to know better. Now, we're talking about the different types of bullying. We spoke about the physical, which is the hitting, the kicking, and the shoving, the pushing you around. We spoke about the verbal, which is the teasing, the name calling, and the belittling expressions that you will give to somebody. Let's move on to the next one, which is called relational bullying. Now, relational bullying, of course, in its literal form, is referring to you in your relations, correct? Now, when we're talking about relations, we talk about relationship. We talk about you with a bond with someone. If we are talking about relational bullying, we're obviously talking about the form of bullying that is going to affect the interaction between people in their relationship, in their relation. So how can that be bullying? You would ask yourself, would you be in a relation if there is bullying? Of course you wouldn't want to, but you might just find yourself in it. And you wouldn't even know you're being bullied because you're in this relationship and you think emotionally as opposed to thinking logically. So relational bullying, an example, ostracizing someone. For example, I have got a friendship with someone, but each time we are in public, this person makes me feel ostracized. They isolate me from the group. They isolate me from their things. Yet when we are alone, they become a different person. Do you see this within your relationships? Do you see this within your home, within your family, in the school environment maybe? Where as soon as you are alone with somebody, they become one person, but when you are around people, they ostracize you. Another form of relational bullying, spreading rumors about you. And that is very important because it happens today. It is so rife in our communities and societies across the globe today. People would make up a story about you that is so bad, so negative, and they will spread it around like rumors that will hurt you so badly. And you know what the saddest part about that would be is that society and community and the people around you actually start to believe in it. They thrive on it. And that causes the distance in your relationships with people. Because people who you know or think you know actually tend to believe the story and the rumor as opposed to believing in you. That is also bullying. When you start to spread rumors about someone, you are a bully, especially when it's a lie and fabricated to hurt them in whichever way that you can. That's bullying. The other form of this social manipulation, relational bullying, social manipulation. What am I referring to? When I'm talking about manipulation, I'm talking about how to manipulate something, how to make it work for you and twist it around. When I talk about social manipulation, I'm talking there is something about you. I'm going to twist it around to make sure it works for me and works for what my intention is to hurt you. And I hurt you socially by manipulating that one little aspect that I might know about you. So even though I will know that you did something that you're not happy about and you trusted me with it, I will twist that around to go and do this in social areas, social media, etc., and make sure that people don't like you and make sure people talk ill about you or think ill about you, purely because I have manipulated socially what you have been entrusted unto me. Relational bullying. We then, of course, move on to one that we know is across the globe, also very important, which is sexual bullying. That requires a whole platform on its own. But there we are talking about sexual name calling, we're talking about prepositioning, we're talking about uninvited touching, we're talking about children who are actually also given privy to this, which is very sad. And this is why I say this form of bullying requires its own session on its own, because there's so much to discuss about it. It includes the human trafficking portion. It includes many, many areas that need a lot more in-depth discussion. But this form of bullying is also rife. Sexual bullying is also rife. It's rife in your communities. It's rife in your schools, unfortunately. Even between students. It's rife between teachers and students. It's rife between people in family zones. And the scary part about this is that the victims hardly ever speak up. For some reason, and we're here to say to people, no matter who you are, what you're doing, where you're from, what your culture is, where you are across the globe, please talk about these issues, because you do not have to go through any of these things alone. I want to pause and give you a story of something that happened here in South Africa. I pray this network is going to last me until I finish today, because here we're having many, many difficulties with networks and cabling and electricities, etc. But here's it's not even an example, it's real, it's what happened about 4 to 5 weeks ago here. Just before the schools closed for the Christmas break and for this festive holiday. So we had a matriculant who was in his school, and he was one of the very good students who really studied hard. I'm not going to mention names, but I'm going to merely relay to you what happened. And this boy had many friends, many friends. He was very friendly, but not overly friendly. When I say friendly, as in he was liked. He was very socially active in his school. And in the matric year, he took part in many of the youth programs, etc. He was a good boy. And a girl who used to be one of his friends threatened him and said to him that she is going to tell people that he had raped her. I'm giving you an example of the sexual bullying, but I'm relaying a true story of what happened, because you must know that this is real. So this girl threatens this young man who's in matric. I mean, his life is ahead of him. Everything about him, he's a good student, he's probably going to go to university, there's dreams and visions, etc. for him. And this girl comes up and she threatens him that she is going to start telling people that he raped her. What does he do? He comes from a culture that doesn't even talk about sexual activity, leave alone being threatened that a girl is going to do this to him. What is it going to do to his mother? His dream is to make sure he looks after his mom and his family. What is this going to do to his life and reputation? He can't afford that. And she's not listening. She keeps nagging him and saying to him that she's going to threaten this, she's going to do this, she's going to say this. Do you know what this boy did? He spoke to no one. He told no one. He merely sent a whole lot of messages via WhatsApp, and he then left a note. and he committed suicide. This young man ended his life based on a sexual rumor. And then what does she do? She says openly when they find his body and they read his messages, I was only joking. He did not do it. The young man is no more here. You've killed his dream. You've killed him. His mother has no son. Merely because you thought it was a good enough joke to spread that rumor, to threaten him with that. This is how real and effective bullying can be, where you can take someone's life and you will not realize it until they're gone. Can you imagine what that girl is going through right now? Knowing that her entire school now knows that she is almost responsible for his death. And in his note, he did say, I will haunt you. It is so sad that there was no go-to space for this young man. This is why I am reaching out and saying to you, no matter where you are across the globe, please find the space that there must be. There must be safety homes, there must be counselors, there must be people around that you can turn to no matter what form of abuse you are facing from a bully. And you as a bully can also get help to stop this kind of behavior. We have lost lives to bullying. And I've just given you an example of something that happened in my country, in my area. It is sad. It is a sad reality, but it is rife and it's there, and we need to talk about it and we need to get the help to people. The next form of bullying, something I know personally has been an attack on me. It has happened to me personally more than once, and it affected me in a very, very bad way. But I did not lose myself to it. I fought it. I still fight it till today. It's a form of bullying. It's a form of it. And it differs from the other types of bullying because of this risk to public exposure and the complex different roles of the observers and the size of the audience that actually resonate with this digital technology. Now, when we look at the cyberbullying, what exactly is this about? What exactly does it do to you? Some of you who are listening to me might say or think, why does it even affect you? It affects me because it was lies. It is a lie. You make up stuff and you go to my personal pages and you post stuff that has nothing to do with me. But guess what happens with the cyberbullying? The audience who does not care to ask my opinion, who does not care to ask the person who the so-called victim is, what is their side? They actually comment on what the bullies put up on social media. And they comment against the victim. They bully you via their messages. They don't know you personally sometimes. They don't know anything about you. All they know is this extract that's put up sometimes on a page or on any social media platform. And the reaction from the audiences is where the bullying comes from. And the actual person who started it sits back and just watches it. They watch this, and guess what it does to you as the victim? Especially if you are a public person, especially if you are someone who does the work, for example, like I do. You cannot afford this to happen on social media, but it does happen. And when it does happen, what do? You merely just stick to your lane. You stay true to yourself, you stay true to God, and you keep doing what you do because you know that you are doing your best and you know that you are doing things right. And you don't have to prove yourself to the world. You prove yourself to your creator and you be the best that you can be. So cyberbullying is very real. Cyberbullying has cost people their businesses. It's cost people their reputations. It's cost people, some people actually, their lives, because everything about them revolved around social media. And when they were cyberbullied, they killed themselves because there was no other platform, no other means for them to gain income, no ways to get out. So if you are one of those who are cyberbullying people, think twice. you're actually doing the same as somebody who takes the knife to hurt someone. It needs to stop. It stops with each one of us. Like it starts with each one of us, it has to stop with each one of us. Bullying is not the only form of violence in a school or in a corporate sector, etc., because there are fights that happen between and then attacks on students and even teachers. And this is also found in certain areas and communities where you find that there are gangs. There's a gang culture. This is also very important, very rife. Many people don't like to talk about it, but it is there. People have died from being bullied and stuff like that from different gangs. If you don't come into this, if you don't do this, etc., then you get either gunned down or you get hurt or your family gets hurt. And this also includes carrying of a weapon. Just you being noticed with your weapon can sometimes hurt somebody or make somebody feel scared of you. And then you use this. You use your unlawful carrying of your weapon, especially a knife, and you try and threaten people with it. These are all different forms of bullying. But there is one very important point about each of these different forms of bullying. Every single one of them, whether it was the physical, whether it was the verbal, whether it was the sexual, whether it was relational, whether it was cyber, whatever the form of bullying may be, it affects one thing: your psyche. It affects your mindset. It affects your emotional well-being. It affects everything about you, but it affects your psyche. Your psychological being becomes hurt. Your psychological being becomes altered. So if you had to look at students, for example, students who are bullied, they are more likely to suffer from depression, from anxiety, from health issues, even poor academic achievements and behavior problems at schools, including dropout rates. And I have seen this. Our children in our schools actually suffer from these issues. Nobody even sees it. A teacher sometimes may see the academic results of who used to be a good child. The academic results keep dropping. And the teachers will then ask the child, what's going on? Is there something you need to talk about? Is there something that you need to do? Is there something going on at home? And the child is reluctant to speak because of the bullying factor. When the parents come to school meetings and the teachers then say to the parent, do you know that there might be something wrong because I'm noticing the drop in the grade? Parents today, sadly, would rather blame a teacher for the drop in the grade than to speak to the child and help the teacher find out what the problem is. And because our children are left with our teachers for most of the time in the day, our parents are so busy with life. Our parents are so busy with what's happening with the world, making ends meet, running this rat race of a life. They don't have time to talk to a child. They don't have time to ask the child, are you okay? Is everything okay? What's going on? Why are the grades dropping? They merely blame the teacher. Yet there is something wrong with your child. There is something going on with your child. And if you are a parent listening to me right now, when last have you asked your child, are they okay? Do you notice certain traits of behavior patterns that are different and differentiating in your child with the grades that are dropping? Do you notice your child being scared to become a part of a play group? Are you noticing these things? Because it's so important for us to remember that some kids might take bullying over and over and over, and eventually they will retaliate. And if they retaliate in a violent way, most often what happens is the bully and the person who retaliated comes to the principal's office, for example. Because the victim has now retaliated, the bully suddenly does not look like he's the bad person. Do you know how many times I have known this to happen, where I've counseled children who've had to become so dramatic where they retaliate, and yet they become scolded, they become shouted at, they become so resilient, and yet they become torn apart by people around them because nobody believes them anymore. Only because they didn't speak up from the beginning. So the bully gets their way again. Students who bully others are sometimes more likely to exhibit behavior problems at school and also suffer from some forms of drug abuse. I've seen this, we have seen it around us, and they most often also engage in criminal activity and sometimes have abusive relationships when they become adults. Children who witness bullying behavior and violence are also more likely to have mental health difficulties. They kind of miss or they drop out from schools. If you're a parent right now and you're listening to me, within your home, how do you address an issue where you are disturbed about something or you are not happy with something about your spouse? Do you shout at each other in front of your children? If you are a bully parent, if you are a bully spouse, do you do this with your spouse in front of your children? Do you know that your children are sponges who are really literally finding and sponging off from you? Remember that violence and bullying do not only affect academic learning, it impacts negatively on social development of this young child. And in particular, the student who experiences violence and bullying, they're more likely to have difficulty when they have to develop democratic competencies. Like, for example, for them, it's going to be hard to empathize with others because they just believe in themselves. They respect only themselves. They do not care for others. And openness to other cultures and beliefs, for example, they don't care about others. Ambiguity and self-efficacy, they also not interested. All they care about is themselves. I am in the middle of a hectic storm, which is causing a lot of lightning in front of me and behind me. So if this cuts off, please bear with me as well. I'm sorry, South Africa right now, which is the country I'm from, is experiencing many climate change issues, including an earthquake a few weeks ago, floods, massive storms right now, and electrical issues. I'm sure you just saw that. That's lightning and thundering. So I do apologize if this is getting a bit, you're not able to hear me properly. I will try and finish off because of safety on my side. A good place to start with how to deal with bullying around you is ask your children, ask yourselves, ask the people around you, where are they feeling vulnerable? Where are they in danger? Are they in danger at all? Please ask yourself, ask your people around you, are you all safe? Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling scared against people? Are you feeling scared against your teachers and other children in your school? What sorts of violence have you witnessed? What sorts of violence have you experienced? Have you ever experienced this? And what have you tried to do to help others who you see this happen to? What are you seeing that causes this kind of violence? What do you think it is? Have these discussions with your children, with your spouses, with your families. Make them aware. Create an awareness around you that is so important for us right now. Please create awareness about bullying because bullying is rife. The more we talk about it, the more we learn to understand it, the better it will be. Things are going to get a lot better if we start to talk up, if we speak up, if we learn more and are better. If we're better equipped with knowledge and education, we will be better equipped to handle everything. So one of the basics for learning how to equip yourself to manage bullying and deal with a bully that confronts you is equip yourself with educating yourself. What exactly is bullying? Bullying is a violation. Bullying is a violence. It's a violation of you at your right. Bullying is no. It's a no-go zone. You're not supposed to be a bully and you're not supposed to allow being bullied. I'm going to have to cut off. Unfortunately, the lightning and thundering here is going to definitely affect this network system as well. I do apologize to IIU for having to cut this a little bit short. I think I had 10 minutes left or 5 minutes, I'm not sure. But I do apologize and I do thank you all. Please pray for us here in South Africa. We are going through many, many difficulties, as you can see behind me. The lightning is really, really bad right now. And the storm is hectic. There's now hail coming down. So we pray for safety for everybody that's out there. Thank you so much to IIU. Thank you so much to all of us that are listening. Oh gosh, that's a bit scary because that's a bit bad. Thank you again, everybody. Please be safe. God bless and all the best for 2023. Goodbye and God bless.